relationships in general, because life revolves around communicating with people, right? I mean, if I wake up in the morning, at some point in the day, if I leave where I live, I should encounter another human being and have to speak with them or interact with them somehow, right? You don't always have to, but it's very likely. So, last week, the topic of what does love have to do with anything? Does it actually even matter? Came up. And the answer to the lovely question posed by Tina Turner's song, What's Love Got to Do with it, was love has everything to do with it. So today, we're going to look at communicating that love effectively. So as you can read, is I love you really enough? Is the question that we want to answer today. Let's see if this works. Thanks. Somebody want to give this a read for us? Or let's read it all together, rather. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Humans need to hear and to receive overt expressions of love from the time they are born until the day they die. Does that sound accurate to you? So we have, I'll do a quick recap of the Greek language. The ancient Greek language had 4 different words, 4 different types of love. They have storge, eros, phileo, and agape. And agape is the kind of love that is unconditional. I think Hannah had the closest definition to it that I can remember. So you mind helping us out with that, please? Which one? Both of you if you like. Agape. Exactly. So agape love is acting in the best long-term interests of a person, whether or not it benefits you, and whether or not they reciprocate. So, can you hit the next slide for me, please? There are different ways of communicating love, and there are roughly 5, or basically 5 different types of love languages. There are 5 basic ways that everybody communicates love. In the question that we had earlier, what makes you feel loved, most of them fell into one of these categories. I noticed several of them happen to be falling into the first category at my table, of quality time. Quality time is when you spend uninterrupted time with another person. You can hang out at the beach, you can go and eat pizza, you can just talk. You can just sit there and just give somebody your undivided attention. Because if you are sitting with someone, and say, Rhonda, if your grandson was sitting with you, and he came to visit you, but the whole entire time he was just sitting on his phone, and he didn't really speak to you, but he just sat there, would that make you feel loved? Yeah, you feel rejected. Spending quality time with someone is giving them your undivided, completely focused attention. Because when we don't do that, it leaves us feeling a bit left out and uncared for. The next one is words of affirmation. So when I go and I tell Zanita, man, the way you surf is so rad. I wish that I could surf like that. That's me telling her a word of affirmation, giving her praise, giving her something that is a true statement of how I think she surfs, to be honest. And then we have physical touch. This one can get a little bit tricky because of how our world is today. But physical touch is really important. Like Hannah was saying, she likes hugs. Like, I love hugs. I grew up in a touchy-feely family. So every time we see each other, We get a hug. When we say goodbye, we give a hug and then we leave. But physical touch helps show someone that you matter. There have been multiple studies about intimacy, not romantic necessarily, but physical touch builds a bond between two people that nothing else can. So if you have a friend who's really far away in another country, and you just communicate with them online, you are missing out on a whole entire range of intimacy that can only come from being close to each other, from being able to physically touch the other person, whether it be a pat on the back, touch of the head, even just like a handshake. You're still missing out on one aspect. And that does have an impact. There is also gifts. How many of you like receiving things from other people? So coming from Western culture, it's very typical to expect to get a gift for your birthday or for Christmas. But what about during like the rest of the year? How does it make you feel if somebody just randomly pops up and brings you a box of cookies that they made themselves? You'd feel loved. It's a good way. So the thought behind the gift is not necessarily, oh man, this person, I like them, so I'm going to buy them a car, I'm going to buy them a really fancy watch, I'm going to buy them this really awesome MacBook because I hear it's the latest thing, and then you don't spend any time with them. It has to be something genuine. Like, you can buy nice things for people, but they have to see in other areas as well that you do care more than just, I'm going to buy you stuff. So it has to be a nice, thoughtful reflection of how you feel about them, how you care. Then we have acts of service, which are freely given, self-activated, and purposeful things of service. It can be as easy as me doing the dishes for Alicia and Dan, because that's where I'm staying. And I know that Alicia doesn't like doing the dishes. And so I see this sink full of dishes, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and show her that I love her, that I care about her as my friend. So I'm going to do those dishes for her, because I know she doesn't like it, and it's helpful. So that's one example of acts of service. So you have all of these different things, all of these 5 different languages, or love languages that express how you feel about someone, and they collaborate together to fill up what is called an emotional love tank. It's like when you're driving a car, and you have to put fuel in it. Yeah, I feel like you guys are really, really dead. Very irresponsive. Thank you. Good enjoy.
Can we wipe our hands?
So you have this emotional love tank. When you're driving a car, if you continue driving and driving and driving and driving and driving, and you don't do anything, what's going to happen when you've driven too far? Yeah, you'll run out of petrol, and then what do you need to do? Fill up the tank. So using these 5 love languages helps fill up our own personal love tank. But there's a hitch, because not everybody has the same primary love language. We don't all receive love in the same way. For example, my brother does not like gifts. Like, he legitimately does not like gifts. Which is really cool because me and him, like, we like practicality things. Like, if I don't need it, I'd rather you can spend money on me. But it helps me figure out, like, if I see something that makes me think of him, I have to think about it and wait, is this actually something that he needs? Is it something he'll appreciate? So it makes me put more thought into it. So I can get him a gift, but it makes him feel uncomfortable because it's not his primary love language. It's his least love language that actually matters to him. So instead, what he does appreciate is words of affirmation. So I'll tell my brother, man, I really liked the way that you gave that input. When you corrected me on this Bible study, like all the feedback that you had in that, I know that you care because you're telling me all these different things. You're going through all of this list of different things that I can improve and how to make me better. And you're just really, really good at that. Like, you're really awesome at that. God has given you a gift in that. That's giving him words of affirmation and recognition in what he's done and how he is God, the way that God has made him. Whereas with one of my other friends, with Akil, sorry, my boyfriend, his love language is physical touch. If I give him words of affirmation, it's cool, it's all right, but he feels loved if I give him a hug, or if I hold hands with him when we're walking down the street or something, like, which I actually feel really uncomfortable with because coming from an Asian culture for 3 years, I just don't do like public display of affection. But I go outside of my comfort zone to help him feel loved. I go for his long-term interest, not for my own benefit. I look at his long-term benefit and I hold his hand as we walk down the street. And that helps fill up his love tank. It helps him feel loved. So at our tables, very briefly, I'll give you like a minute. What are benefits of a full love tank?